Welcome, everybody, back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the news that basically every single NFL team is talking about right now. Odell Beckham Jr. has been released from the Cleveland Browns. Now we'll go through waivers, and if somebody claims him on Monday, he will be on another team. If he's not claimed, he'll become a free agent, and then somebody could go out and sign him, where it'd be more of like up to him to pick where he goes. Now, there's a couple things that are a little bit confusing about his whole situation. A couple days ago, when the rumors came out that the Browns might cut him, it looked like it was going to be $8 million. It would cost $8 million against the cap to go and get him. If that is the case, obviously the 49ers don't really have a chance to go and get him. They have I think they're operating at like a little over $3 million right now over the cap. So wouldn't make much sense. And if you were going to you'd have to go so much out of your way to restructure your contracts to get a guy like that to free up $5 million plus dollars. However, the Browns restructured his deal, so it's a little bit weak. I've had stuff that has said they would pay it. You would have to pay him $8 million. Also read stuff that said it'd be around $1 million. So if it's $8 million, me and Aiden both agree you're not going to go after him. However, if it's $1 million, say he goes out past the waiver claims and you would go and sign him potentially for probably not that much money. But let's just say that you go to sign him, it's around $1 million. Maybe it's through the waiver claim system or it's not. Do you think there's a chance that Odell Beckham Jr. is a 49er, Aiden?
There's always going to be a chance, but I would say it's pretty low probability. I think that the main thing that has tied the Niners to Odell is the fact that Kyle has spoken very highly of him. There's that video that I've seen every 49ers page tweet out when he's on the Giants and he's talking to John Lynch. So this is a team that has liked Odell for a long time, but I really like where our weapons are at. And Kittle's coming back. I haven't seen Trent Sherfield make a catch in weeks, and I think he's really, really solid. Sanu has been solid. Ayuk is finally figuring it out. It's not something, and maybe you pick him up this year to sign him to a longer term deal, but I don't know if he's necessarily worth that. So if I was John Lynch, I would probably lean towards no, but I could see them trying to make some sort of move, get somebody new in the building. It's not what I would personally do, regardless of the cost, but it's something that's definitely possible.
So I actually am kind of in the opposite that spot. Now, I am also agree with you. I like the 49ers weapons. I think it makes more sense to not do that. I think giving Brandon Ayuk more looks, which it does seem like if you guys have listened to the recent comments said by both Brandon, multiple people on the team, Mike Daniels, a lot of guys have talked about Brandon Ayuk this past week, talked about, why they have a lot more belief in him moving forward, I would say. And just some of the stuff, if you guys saw any of the clips of the 49ers talking to Brandon Ayuk in the press conference, it's actually pretty funny. They asked him, what did Kyle say to you? He said some words about 4 times. So definitely had some chats over the bye week about, being a pro and all that kind of stuff. Very interesting stuff. Would definitely recommend going and watching those Brandon Ayuk clips though. And he talks about that he's almost responsible for not getting looks, which is interesting because a lot of times you have some receivers where they're not getting looks, they get really frustrated, and it almost seems like they become a locker room problem. That has not been Brandon at all. And I think last week we saw, I definitely think that was his best game. So you look at do you go after Odell Beckham Jr.? Brandon Ayuk is such a massive factor in that, I think. But I think that they're going to try to make it work. I really do. I think this is a guy that Kyle Shanahan still feels like is a very, very good receiver. I get that it hasn't looked good for the past 3 years. I would probably lean don't do it. But if they go and do it, he has to me, he has to be the third option. Or I guess the fourth option when you add in Kittle. This is still going to be a run-heavy offense. It is a little weird to me just because you see the issues with him. He's not getting the ball. He wants the ball. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case with the Niners. So I don't really think it makes a ton of sense. I do expect them to go after him and try to get him. The reason I will defend that move if it does happen is because Kyle Shanahan is a very good evaluator of wide receiver talent. Yes, he missed on Dante Pettis. Don't think Dante Pettis' issue was talent. I really don't think that. I mean, he's still in the league now, and look at all the issues he's had. Jalen Hurd, the issue is definitely not talent. We haven't even seen him play a game. Has he even been on the field for a regular season game? I don't believe so.
He is
So
not.
like those misses aren't there. You see all of the tremendous talent with Deebo Samuel. You see some of it. He was a great wide receiver coach. He was like the first. Like Andre Johnson credits Kyle Shanahan a lot, and that's like when Kyle was like 20, like very like young 20s, mid 20s maybe. So I definitely am going to have a lot more faith in Kyle Shanahan to either develop a wide receiver or what he thinks of wide receivers, because that's his position. We like a lot of people say like, oh, he's a quarterback guru. I don't really know where that came from. He's a wide receiver guru. He's a wide receiver coach that turned into a great offensive mind. So I'm always gonna trust him with the evaluations of wide receiver more than myself or more than anyone on Twitter. So I will defend him for that, because if he thinks that he can, get Odell Beckham Jr. back to that form, totally understand it. I don't think they're going to get him though, because I think that he's going to get claimed a lot higher. I think the Niners are 12th right now. There's a couple teams that are ahead of them on the list. The two that really stand out to me are the Seahawks and the Falcons. The Seahawks, because the Seahawks, I mean, they go after Josh Gordon every single season. It feels like they're always trying to get another guy. And they do have Dwayne Eskridge, who is a very solid player, and Freddie Swain, I think his first name's Freddie. He's a solid player too, been a pretty good contributor this season. But I do think that they're definitely always a team that's in a mix for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. The Falcons, Calvin Ridley is not playing right now. They are actually in the playoff mix. If you look at their record, they're sitting right where the Niners are. And I don't think they're a great team, but they might, go, hey, we have Matt Ryan. Let's try to push for this guy, and let's try to push for a playoff run. So I think that those are the two teams that could really do it. I also think there's a chance that a lot of NFL evaluators believe that Odell Beckham Jr. still has it. And I don't know if I believe that. I feel like it's kind of been tough just because it seems like the situations haven't been great for him. And he's also been constantly banged up just like for the last 2-3 years, it feels like. So I don't really know where I am on him. Like, it's tough for me. I'm kind of torn. Like, is it worth the risk? But I do think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to put in claims for Odell Beckham. I think that he's going to go before the Niners have a chance to. So I don't think they're going to get him. I think that they want to get him. They tried to trade for him, but they wanted to keep that number 2 pick to have Nick Bosa a few years back. But they definitely considered it. And thank God they didn't pull that move. But I don't know. Do you think they want him? Because I really think they're going to try to get him. I just don't think that they're going to be the ones that end up landing him in the end.
They might want him, but you mentioned he would probably be the number 3 guy, number 4, including Kittle. I don't think he wants that. He's at a point in his career where he needs to prove to people that he deserves this next relatively big contract. It's not going to be the 5 years, $90 million that he signed 3 or 4 years ago, but he's playing for a contract. So I would be surprised if he walks into San Francisco and is like, I'm cool being the number 3 dude. And like you saw that work for like Antonio Brown kind of, but like he's not playing for the big contract. He's at the tail end of his career. I feel like Odell is at a point where he has the talent. I think he could still be successful. And I also think that Jimmy Garoppolo being the quarterback for the Niners right now is not a significant upgrade over Baker, which I think is a big reason why he left.
I think it's a downgrade.
I mean, probably, but it's not necessarily like you're going from Baker to Tom Brady the way that Antonio Brown did, and you know that you're going to get a ton of throws. But I would be surprised if Odell welcomes it, and if he's not on board, obviously the Niners aren't going to make the move no matter how bad they want him. So that's something at least to consider. He's always wanted to come to San Francisco, so maybe he sucks it up and is fine being the number 3 dude. I think he could have some success there, but I would be surprised. I give it a 5 to 10% chance of it happening, given the amount of things that need to go right. But I mean, he's a good football player, and he makes the 49ers a better team. Just so many things need to go right for it to happen and for him to have success.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to touch before we take off out of here, because I think we're kind of in a similar spot. I think I'd give it like a 10% chance probably as well. Like you said, like a lot of things have to fall in the right place. I think he gets claimed before 12. or maybe it is $8 million and no one claims it, which I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. The waiver period is kind of odd. That's not the best area where I have like understanding of the NFL. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But it's definitely something where if they go and get him, I think one of the things that will get brought up a lot is like, oh, this guy's a answer in the locker room. And I get that there's some like people always have questions around him, but listen to what his teammates say. I feel like people don't listen to what NFL players have to say about guys. And that always interests me where guys will get like deemed like, oh, this guy's an issue. He's a locker room problem. And then you hear what his teammates have to say about him, and then the guys that are around him, they're like, no, we love him. He's a great leader. That's what all of the receivers came out and said about Odell Beckham Jr. So I don't think that's a factor. I think if anything, he is a good mentor to Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. But that's not going to be the narrative. Like it definitely won't. It's going to be like, oh, look at Odell, like it's causing all these problems. That's not what people say about him that actually are playing with him. So I'm always interested when that's the case. Obviously, it doesn't seem like him and Baker had the best relationship, and he was frustrated there. But anyone that had worked with him, they're like, no, he got me better. And that's, I think, what is the biggest thing when it comes to teammates in the NFL. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know if you guys do think he has a locker room cancer. I said I don't think he's going to end up being a 49er. If he does, it does make them better. But I don't want him taking reps from Ayuk either, from Deebo. I mean, look what Deebo's done this year. It's hard to take away reps from that guy right now. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it plays out. But I wouldn't expect him to be a 49er if he does. I bought a Giants Odell Beckham jersey last weekend, so look at that. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's episode. I'll be talking tomorrow. I've been previewing the game this weekend. Kind of waiting on if Kyler's gonna play, if DeAndre Hopkins is gonna play. So a lot of question marks there. But that's gonna do it for today's episode. So thank you all for listening. I'll be back talking 49ers football tomorrow.